Now, I wanted to make a video talking about how we are absolutely blessed compared to other parts of the world that are absolutely fudged, family-friendly show, and how we have to be careful because we are on a pathway of just being totally fudged. Now, when I'm talking about blessed, I'm talking about absolute freedom that we have in our society compared to, of course, oppression, tyranny, government force, and actual oppression. Now, I'm not talking about facts that people don't like to hear, their feelings or emotions or sensitivities hurt because someone talks about how people are biologically different or that there's two genders. No, I'm not talking about the ninny snowflake oppression, Olympics, outrage culture oppression. I'm talking about actual government oppression, actual government forces, men with guns coming to you and literally putting you in jail for expressing or thinking a way that they don't like. We are slowly on a trajectory to that, and that's why I think it's important to make a video to show you what is happening around the world, to highlight how bad things could really get and how really we are not that far off away from it. And that's why our vigilance and understanding is more important than ever right now, since it's truly the only thing standing in the way of actual oppression. And before we get into it, don't forget that you are watching a fully independent media channel supported by you and your viewership, and especially your donations on wearechange.org/donate. Considering even making a $5 monthly donation means the world to us and keeps us up and running during a very difficult time where, of course, independent media is being destroyed by the tech oligarchs. Now, one of the modern examples that I would like to concentrate on in the beginning of this video is something that, of course, the mainstream media and even Hollywood have been shunning away more and more from openly criticizing, and that, of course, is China. And because the country is tied in to so much commerce and so much economic resources, this is why a lot of people have been very reluctant to be critical of this emerging nation state that wants global hegemonic power. And for me, China is ultimately the testing grounds, a human kind of experiment to see how far government could get away with actual oppression, with actual enslavement of its population, where we are seeing a new social Chinese credit score and technological advancements lead the way in subjugating its citizens, where now, in some parts of China, it is actually considered an extremist tendency to have a beard, having a compass, even owning a tent and eating breakfast too early are signs that the Chinese government sees that you might be a possible extremist. This article by an Australian publication says, acting sad in public seems like a normal response when your parents die, but in China, it could see you locked up in an education center indefinitely. It's one out of a total of 48 suspicious signs, including owning a compass, telling someone to stop smoking, and eating breakfast too early, that could let Chinese officials know you're a, quote, extremist. And of course, these are just some of the justifications that are noted on the country's crackdown of its Ugarin ethnic minority population, which according to many reports have absolutely been disappeared or have been sent to so-called vocational education facilities, which people have akin to, of course, concentration camps. Well, of course, critics say that people were stuck there for years doing hard labor under the guise of, quote, education, which critics have said is, quote, a slow-motion humanitarian disaster happening in that country. Now, it's important to note here the Uyghur population is mainly an Islamic population that used to have a majority of the population in Xizing. But after what many considered a terrorist attack and a mass stabbing in 2014 that killed 31 people, this of course raised tensions in the region, which has been one of the reasons that has been used to justify the, quote, re-education camps, while others claim that this crackdown is an attempt to, quote, defang any religious minorities, which by the way also includes Christians. This of course all done by the quasi-communist party, which is not really communist, but it's, quote, the state's attempt to stop its regions from forming their own identities. Because obviously, if people have their own identities, they are harder to subjugate, rule, divide, and conquer and control. And it's the fear of nationalism that, of course, a major nation state fears. Now, according to some of the sources coming out of China, this was some of the information that the Chinese state used to, of course, put someone in a, quote, education camp. And they include speaking with someone who has traveled abroad, owning welding machine, telling others not to swear, owning a tent, arguing with an official, of course that's a big one, having a VPN, not having your government ID on you, on your person, having WhatsApp, wailing, publicly grieving, or otherwise acting sad when your parents die, not letting officials take your DNA, watching a video filmed abroad, speaking with someone abroad via Skype, WeChat, or even just being related to anyone who has done any of the above mentioned things. And of course, it's been police checkpoints and also, most importantly, the social credit score, which, by the way, still has not gone into full effect. It's on its way to being in effect in China that has helped the subjugation of these people and, of course, random civilians. In China, in some parts of the country right now, if you jaywalk, you literally have a facial recognition camera take a photo of you, shame you publicly, and at the same time just automatically take money out of your bank account, with a notification, of course, sent to you on your phone that this happened. That's how people live in China right now. And you might be saying to yourself, hey, this can't happen here in the United States. No way in the land of the free could something as horrible as despotic happen in this land. And I would say you're wrong. History says you're wrong, and of course, I'm going to make an argument for that. You look at some of the closest allies to the United States. Obviously, China on the world stage is a foe, but look at the allies, including Saudi Arabia, that literally is talking about needing more executioners because of the... I can't even show those images. I won't show those images, where, of course, its political enemies and dissenters in their country, including people as young as 16 years old who want to protest against the government, are literally beheaded in that country. And our president condones a lot of these attacks, even attacks that happen on American soil. Even specifically, the last video we did about Saudi Arabia, where the Saudi Arabian embassy has been caught time again allowing rapists, allowing people accused of homicides, of killing Americans, being able to flee the country, with U.S. presidents time and time again just looking the other way, as literally Saudi Arabians are coming into this country and are being allowed to do horrible acts against our citizens on an individual basis. Yes, we specifically covered that in our last video. Quote, how can they get away with this? Well, Trump actually brought a spotlight into this just yesterday, saying that, quote, Saudi Arabia buys a lot. I don't want to lose them. And of course, you need to understand that your grievances can't only be with Donald Trump here, who actually spoke honestly here. It has to be with all the other predecessors of him, including Obama, including Bush, who did the same thing, but weren't as brash and open about it as Donald Trump is. And it's not just the fact that the United States is willing to look away during, of course, human rights violations with its, quote, economic partner, but also it participates with the subjugation, the torture, the assassination of innocent populations like we see in Yemen, creating one of the worst the worst, creating the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now. And the media, the resistance, the people fighting him, the people calling him all names, don't even talk about this very issue affecting other humans right now, where even just a year and a half ago, 85,000 children died of starvation and disease in that country because of the U.S. Saudi coalition in that country. So this is not unique to Trump, but time and time and time again, the U.S. empire, especially on the global stage, has always chosen profit over, of course, the moral, virtuous things that have, and has many times lied about being moral or virtuous, that led us into a worse situation, not only for us, but also for the world stage, time and time again, for absolutely asinine, idiotic reasons, in my opinion, and that, of course, is financial reasons. So if they're willing to do this for profit, why wouldn't they do this to you? Well, they can't, as of yet, but the trends are slowly and surely changing in a very troubling way. In the United States, we have the First Amendment. We have freedom of speech. We still have the access and possibilities to communicate with each other in fairness, in an open way where we don't have to face persecution by government forces. But technologically, the censorship is already here with tech monopolies that are empowered by government, doing the bidding of government, and censoring, deleting, squashing, demonetizing, changing the algorithms, de-incentivizing, and screwing over any independent voice that speaks outside of the controlled bubble mainstream media establishment talking points. This channel included, with many others, of course, and many others that have already been destroyed, either deleted, either gone, or just totally bankrupt from trying to effectively communicate to you, which they previously were able to before. But another trend that is also very disturbing is that more Americans, just like I covered in this video, are caring more about racial identity politics than they are about free speech. And that is something to extremely worry about and consider on the large scale, because it is only our acquiescence that is standing in the way from a situation unfolding like there is right now on the world stage in other countries. And unless the American public wakes up and sees the importance of free speech, of basic essential liberties in your life, we are heading towards a trajectory that cannot be reversed and will be very difficult to fight against, since it already is becoming more oppressive to just even speak your mind without having to worry about what you say, who you offend, or who you trigger over, of course, idiotic emotions that only serve the establishment's goals of dividing and conquering you and making you seem and feel like a victim, empowering that on social media. Victimhood culture is now a priority for many individuals. Showing how outraged, showing how hurt you could be is now viewed as the most prominent important things by our controlled algorithms that, of course, are curated for our personal benefit and ease, when in actuality it's curated for many other sinister purposes and reasons. So at the same time, unless we wake up and see responsibility as highly as we do victimhood right now, unless we start seeing our rights as highly as we do our emotions, this will not change the dangerous trajectory that we are on, where already in 2011 the FBI made a list of what could make you a possible domestic terrorist, which, surprisingly, is almost identical to the Chinese system of subjugation of their populations, where they literally, in 2011, sent out training brochures to all around this country. This is by the Federal Bureau of Investigations, which is now being cheered on by some idiotic, bootlicking, asinine idiots. The FBI previously sent out a document to law enforcement all across the country saying you might be a domestic terrorist if you believe in civil liberties, if you believe in the Constitution, if you pay cash, if you believe in privacy, if you're worried about Big Brother, believe in Christian beliefs, and are a prepper in any way, previously going to a military surplus store, or like camping, then, according to this brochure, according to the FBI, you might be a domestic terrorist. This was done in 2011, way before the Chinese reporting on this system. Something to think about, but overall, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Am I being too hyperbolic here? Am I being too sensational? Am I ringing the alarm bells too early? I would really love to have your critical feedback on this specific video, because I did talk in generalities and you may see things differently, but only through our shared experiences, only through us communicating, could we get a better understanding of it. And that's why I view this organization and call this organization We Are Change. Thank you again for everyone who supports us, who donates to us. $5 a month, again, keeps us alive and well during these very difficult times. And because a few individuals do that, this is why I personally end all my videos by saying, I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.